wise. The confirmation of this incident is in fact the confirmation of the existence of God, the unseen world, the authenticity of the prophethood of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad Mustafa Pbuh, the authenticity of the Quran's non-distortion, etc., which is a vital need in medicine to treat the pains of today's human generation. There is not even an iota of doubt about the veracity of this incident, as during 38 years in Iran and several foreign countries, both Shiite and Sunni scholars and authorities, and the rest of the community, tested him and confirmed his veracity, and indeed, they confirmed and testified to the occurrence of this great miracle, and at least this can be said for the authenticity of this event, that scholars and Tiklit authorities are not people whose collective confirmation can be questioned and denied, and the video and written documents of it in is the hand. The mastery and ability of Karbala Muhammad Kazim Karimi on the Quran was not learned so that a person can claim that he learned and gained this mastery through his own efforts or genius. This happened in our time and in our era, and it is not related to the past and not too far away. One day at the age of 27, during the harvest, when he threshed his threshing floor, he was waiting for the wind to take the wheat and separate the chaff from the wheat, but no matter how long he waited, the wind did not blow. So he returns to the village disappointed. On the way he sees one of the poor people of the village and says, "This year you did not give us anything from your harvest and you forgot about us." He says, "God forbid that I forget the poor. Honestly, I still haven't been able to collect my product." The happy poor man returns today, but Muhammad Kazim does not calm down and returns to the farm in a disturbed state and with great effort collects some wheat for him and also picks some fodder for his sheep and takes them and goes to the village. On the way back, he leaves the wheat and fodder to relieve fatigue and sits on the platform of the door of Imamzadeh Garden 72 ton, which is located near the village. Suddenly, he sees two young men with white light. When they reach him, they say, "Muhammad Kazim, aren't you coming to recite Fatiha in this Imamzadeh?" He wonders how those who have never met him call him by name. Muhammad Kazim says, "Sir, I have already gone on a pilgrimage and now I want to return home." But they say, "Okay, put these fodder by the wall and come with us to read Fatiha." Therefore, Muhammad Kazim will follow them to Imamzadeh. The two young men are busy reading things that Muhammad Kazim does not understand, and he stands silently on the side. One of those gentlemen says that Muhammad Kazim should look at the writing above. At this moment, Kazim sees a light line. It was blown, and suddenly he noticed that around the roof of Imamzadeh, there were words of light written on the ceiling. One of them says to him, "Karbala Kazim, why don't you read anything?" He says, "I have not gone to the mullah and I am not literate." "You must read," says An Sid, emphasizing. Then he puts his hand on his chest and presses firmly and says, "Read now." When Karbala Kazim woke up from the vision, he found that he had memorized the entire Quran. He was able to recite the Quran from beginning to end, and he was also able to answer questions about the Quran. Some of the features of Karbala Kazim Saruki are as follows. He memorized the entire Quran. He recited the verses of the Quran not only from the beginning but also from the end. Although he was illiterate, he could immediately identify the words of the Quran in other texts. He was fully proficient in answering the questions of scholars and scientists. Karbala Kazim Saruki was the subject of attention of many scholars and scientists, and many of them confirmed his memory and knowledge. Some scholars believe that this event is proof of the non-distortion of the Quran. Saruki's story was widely reported in the media, both in Iran and abroad. He was invited to give a press conference in Cairo, Egypt, where he again recited the Quran from beginning to end and answered questions from journalists. Saruki's story is considered a miracle by many people. It is seen as a sign of God's blessing and is a testament to the power of the Quran. The story of Karbala Kazim Saruki was also published in important foreign newspapers. One of the first newspapers to cover the story was the Egyptian newspaper, Al-Quds, which published a report on the matter in its November 24, 1923 issue 1302 Shish. The report, quoting the Iranian newspaper, Italat, stated that Karbala Kazim Saruki, an illiterate farmer from the village of Saruk in Iraq, had miraculously memorized the entire Quran. In 1924, 1303 Shish, the French newspaper, Le Monde, also published a report on the matter. In 1925, 1304 Shish, the British newspaper, The Times, also published a report on the matter. The report, quoting the Iranian newspaper, Italat, stated that Karbala Kazim Saruki had attracted the attention of many scholars and scientists. In addition to these newspapers, magazines and newspapers in other countries have also covered the story of Kerbela Kazım Saruki. Some of these magazines and newspapers include Newspaper Al-Quds, November 24, 1923, Egypt. Magazine Al-Halal, Egypt. Magazine Al-Mashriq, Lebanon. Magazine Al-Zahra, Iran. Newspaper Idalak, Iran. Newspaper Mer, Iran. Newspaper Idalak Weekly, Iran. He finally died on the day of Ashura in 1378 AH in Qom and was buried in the new cemetery of that city. Undoubtedly, Kazım's Karbala should be remembered as a miracle of the present age of the Quran.